I have been requested to not sing Ave Maria for this video. Hello everyone, Bront, CatHerder here. We're having some fun talking Raid Shadow Legends, and thank you Raid for sponsoring this video. You guys are absolutely amazing. Check out the link below if you're interested in starting a new Raid account. We are here on my main account and we are going to be doing a showcase, or a guide as it were, on Sanguine Maria. So we're going to talk about how to build her, we're going to talk about how you can best use her, we're going to experiment with her, and honestly mostly focused on arena, but she is a pretty amazing single target damage dealer, and I've been having some fun with her so far, but I have not had a chance to actually use her too much on this account where I've got endgame gear. And one of the things I do want to do is I'm going to test her out against my endgame Rotos build. Now this is not going to be a fair test because I only have a 2-star soul for her. I got one of those pull-in shards recently, or souls recently, and I have a 5-star soul on my Rotos. So it's not going to be 100% fair, but we'll talk about that. I'll show my Rotos build off as well, and we can certainly take a look and see, well, you know, compare the two of them as far as just damage output is concerned directly, but also in what use cases, because I think they are very similar, but they also have very different use cases as well, because there's some stuff that Maria is going to do better than Rotos, and there's some stuff that Rotos is going to do better than Maria. Now this is not the free-to-play showcase that I promised you guys beforehand. This is on my endgame account. This is going to feature endgame gear. On my free-to-play, I will do a showcase on her as well at some point in time in a different video, because, you know, I've got a Rotos and a Maria there as well, so I can try to compare the two of them. But looking at Maria on a free-to-play account will certainly be more interesting, but it takes more time for me to build her on that account. So with that said, let's go forward to this showcase for Sanguine Maria. So here we have Sanguine Maria. She is absolutely amazing. Honestly, a really good looking champion. I really like the aesthetic they've gone with her. The detail that she has, the little blood veins here. I really wish that these things were not blurred out, but that's just a limitation of the way the Raid camera works, I guess, in these environments. Unfortunate, but they are very, very cool as well, that she's got these little mirror portals that have the tentacles reaching out for it. Kind of cool as well. So Sanguine Maria, aka Bloody Mary, is all about threes, because it's the Sanguine Maria, you say Bloody Mary 3 times, all that fun stuff, and of course you've even got the mirrors in there as well. So spot on for some theming as well. We've got the 33% aura in all battles for attack. That's actually a really good attack battle. It's one of the best attack battles auras in the game, and it's all battles, which is actually kind of cool, so cannot complain about that too much. Got a triple hitter here. Each chance has a 33% chance of granting an extra turn. Cannot grant more than 1 extra turn, and what they mean by that is she can't trigger this more than once on a single activation of this skill. You can still stack extra turns. That's kind of important, but she cannot get an extra turn against bosses, which I think is kind of dumb, but at the same time they were trying to make sure that she couldn't solo bosses exclusively because this was really powerful. So it's minor, and she's still usable in PvE obviously, but that's going to make her not busted in PvE like she probably was beforehand. This has a 70% chance generally on a per trigger basis to give you an extra turn. It's just under 70%, but every time basically the chances of getting 2, 3, 4 goes down from there. That doesn't mean that the next chance has any less chance of triggering. It just means that your likelihood of getting a string of them is 40%, I think, on the second one, and the like 32%, and it goes down after that. But in theory, on a time per time basis, there's a 70% chance you'll get an extra turn when you do this A1. A2, 4-turn cooldown, bookable to 3, does 33% ignore defense of the target. It's a single target attack, ignores 99% and stone skin and block damage if the skill is used on a turn number that's divisible by 3 of hers. So every third turn, this is huge. Unfortunately, there is no counter for this, so you kind of have to track that by yourself. That said, she's still ignoring a ton of defense at 33% with this. She's just not going to ignore the stone skin and the block damage. This unfortunately also means that as a go first title champion, she's lacking in the ability to hit through these things until her 3rd turn. So unless you can get a bunch of extra turns, otherwise, this is not going to be as effective as it could be. If a target is killed, it increases the cooldowns of all enemy skills by 3 turns. It cannot be resisted if she's under turn divisible by 3. So very, very good lockout ability. You might want a little bit of accuracy on her to have this trigger when you're not on the turn divisible by 3, but if you end up not building her with a lot of accuracy, that is totally understandable. You do want to make her absolutely nuke, because for a single target damage dealer, if they're not nuking and killing people in 1 or 2 blows, that's a problem. Finally here we have the Gore Scream, 4-turn cooldown, bookable to 3, attacks 1 enemy. Before attacking, removes all buffs from all enemies. This effect cannot be resisted by enemies with a number of buffs that is divisible by 3. Will attack all remaining enemies with less than 66% HP. So you get a free AoE attack out of that, and that is not conditional. The buff removal can't be resisted if she has at least 3 buffs. Actually, sorry, if the enemy has at least 3 buffs, or exactly 3 buffs, or 6 buffs, or 9 buffs. And that's kind of cool, but a little weird. Grants an extra turn if this champion is under a number of buffs that is divisible by 3. That you can control. So you can get controllable extra turns on that A3. It's not easy, but it is doable. This absolutely nukes, and she only needs 8 books to be fully booked, and she's getting an extra 30% damage on each of her skills. So it's actually well worth investing 8 books into her if you can. If you have to not get the A1s and just save and get 6 books, that's fine. Those cooldowns, kind of important on her though, and that damage, very important on a damage dealer. Finally, the passive here, say her name. Each subsequent hit from this champion deals 33% more damage. So 0, 33, 66, 99, and then reset. So you're effectively, every 4th attack is going to be double damage, but you're almost always going to get extra attacks. But that is every hit, which means this A1 is 0, 33, 66 if that's the first thing you do with her, meaning you can do the A1, set up an extra turn, and then go into one of these with a 99% extra damage multiplier. So definitely worth noting that. Each subsequent hit this champion receives deals 33% less damage, only 11% left by bosses, stacks up to 3 times and then resets. So that is 0, 33, 66, 99 again. So basically it's every 4 attacks she gets damage reduction. And then when enemy is revived, revives this champion with 33% HP and 66% turn meter, and puts a true fear debuff on all enemies for 2 turns, cannot be blocked or resisted. So she is very, very good if you bring a reviver with you, because she can help block everyone out, and she can, self-revive herself as well. So I guess you don't actually have to have a reviver on your team, just she can be a good counter for things like Marishka would be an interesting option. She can possibly counter Sun Wukong, because if Sun Wukong kills her, she just pops right back up every time Sun Wukong pops up. Now he'll go first, but he might be true feared. So that could be good as well. Overall, really, really good kit. So we're going to go take a look at how you build her. So these are the masteries I'm going with Sanguine Maria. Which ones you'll go with will certainly depend on what your goals are with her as well. If you want to build her with some accuracy, then the support tree is certainly an option. She does do a couple of things that she could use accuracy for, but she doesn't need accuracy for everything. So I didn't want to go with a ton of accuracy for her. So I went with the defense. I always like to go with this improved parry, because that reduces the damage you're going to take with a critical hit. Very, very important for arena damage dealers as well. I ended up going with Wisdom of Battle. You could certainly go with Bloodthirst instead if you want to cross over and get Delay Death, which is not a bad option. She does, however, put up True Fears, so the chance to put up Leech is not a horrible thing as well, although that could get her sheep, and this will actually possibly be resisted, so it may not bring a lot of leeches. But overall, I really like Cycle of Revenge as a way to get her to take more turns, because she's going to get some extra turn meter when people get critically hit, which happens in the arena all the time. So that's generally my recommendation for her. Otherwise, you could certainly go here for the Rejuvenation instead if you don't want to go with the extra crit damage. Grab this one as well, which has a chance to cleanse you if you take more than 25% damage, and then get Delay Death instead. So that's another option on the defense tree as well. Meanwhile, in the offense, you're certainly always going to go with the extra crit rate and the extra crit damage. You could argue that maybe this isn't a bad one to do extra damage when she has full HP, but I like the ability to do extra damage against shield champions. Ruthless Ambush is not a bad option for her if you expect her to be a first striker against a lot of the champions as well, so that's not a bad option. I tend to like Whirlwind of Death because I like them to become rolling death machines as they speed up. And as a single target damage dealer, she's always going to not kill everybody on her turn and have to take another turn. So the ability to get extra speed I find is very important on single target damage dealers. Life Drinker I find is more of a PvE thing than a PvP thing. It doesn't heal enough in PvP to be worthwhile, so I tend not to do that on my damage dealers for PvP. If you're going to build her for like a Hydra damage dealer, that's an option. Single Out, on the other hand, is great. She is going to be able to kill people with less than 40% max HP. That extra damage can be very, very helpful in finishing people off, especially particularly tanky champions, which, you might encounter in the arena. Finally, Bring It Down, very, very helpful for just doing champions with have more HP than her, which is going to be a lot of people because she doesn't have a ton of HP. Cycle of Violence is great to get her skills back, so the skills that are on cooldown get off cooldown a little bit better, and she's a damage dealer, so this should trigger reasonably often. You could argue the Wrath of the Slain is not a bad option as well. I almost took that over Bring It Down, but that relies on your allies being dead, which, while something that she can help with, is not something you really want to be in the situation of with her, so I figured that's not going to be where I'm going to be using her. And you could certainly argue that Opportunist is not a bad option as well if you're going to be using a lot of stun, sleep, true fear sessions, and she does put some true fear up, so that could be interesting for her as well, so that's not a bad option. But I like Methodical because that increases the damage of her A1, very, very helpful. And then finally, Kill Streak, very, very good as well, give you some more damage because that's kind of what she does. And finally, we want to ignore as much defense as possible, so Helm Smasher is going to be great. She does ignore a ton of it naturally, which is the 33%, that's a 99% occasionally, but not everything ignores defense. So Helm Smasher is going to be very useful most of the time. And honestly, unless you're going here for just 20% extra crit damage, these are all chances of a low extra damage in War Master. And yes, she's a triple hitter A1, but her other two abilities are single hitters, so Giant Slayer is not the way to go in my opinion. So first of all, as far as blessings are concerned, because she can get powered up by buffs, I figure Lightning Cage is probably a good option. You could certainly also go with Heaven Cast because you expect her to be buffed a lot. This is extra damage, but I like the ability to protect these so that they don't get stolen from her quite as often. And she does get some extra damage from this if you get enough of the energy orbs available in this buff heavy meta. So that's an option as well. Again, Heaven Cast, not too bad. I wouldn't go with Brimstone on her. Crushing Rend would be interesting if you can get the 6-star blessing, but for arena that's only going to be an extra 6% extra ignore defense, so probably not the best option for you. Chainbreaker would be an interesting one for her to prevent her from being CC'd, so she would have a chance of basically shrugging off those CCs. Probably if you get a higher level blessing and you don't want to go Lightning Cage, Chainbreaker is an option for her. I like Soul Reap, but Soul Reap is very hit or miss as far as how usable that is, particularly if you're trying to hit from outside of Stone Skin. Soul Reap won't actually kill somebody if you don't kill them in the Stone Skin, but it's kind of nice to be able to kill somebody through other stuff with this Soul Reap as well, so that's another good option. I like it, but it's certainly not the most meta thing at the moment. Would not do Nature's Wrath because she doesn't do a lot of debuffs. Polymorph is another option for a 5 or 6-star. Probably want to go with a 6-star because then it would be irreversible. And, Polymorph is certainly an option for you to use in the arena. Finally, if you're looking for a little more damage, Phantom Touch does give you the extra attack, extra damage hit. Not the worst thing you could do for her. Even in the arena, it's bonus damage. It's proportional to her attack, so it should be a bunch of extra damage as well. But it's probably not super reliable as extra damage, and I would probably more likely lean into, say, Heaven Cast right here, or again, Lightning Cage as some way to add extra damage and give her more extra utility rather than the Phantom Touch right here. As far as relics are concerned, the Malefic Talon is going to be great for her because that's just an extra bit of damage, so it never hurts to do extra damage. Cat's Gaze would be great if you're worried about ignoring defense. Aspect of Siroth might help keep her alive, but she is not Rotos, so this is not going to be as good for her. It's going to next nuke out her turn meter, and she still may not be able to take all the damage. Wand of Submission is always great. It's a great way to make sure that she does not get controlled well. It's going to give you some extra speed and some extra HP, but not the extra nuking ability, so I decided to go for the Talon for the extra nuking ability as well. Otherwise, extra damage, anything that gives you extra damage is certainly going to be helpful, or things that help you stay alive. Perched Shadow would be another really good one because that's going to give her some extra turns as well. So that could be another interesting option for a Sanguine Maria. And I don't happen to have one, so I cannot build her with that one. So we went with the Malefic Talon, partially to get her a little extra crit damage as well, and partially because I think this is just generally a nice one to put on a damage dealer. So gearing options, you're going to want to go with something that's going to be ignoring defense because she's a damage dealer. So you're going to want to go with your instinct gear or your savage gear or your lethal gears or your merciless gears. You're not going to want Slayer gear because she's never going to ignore defense because she doesn't have any AoEs in Slayer. If you're going to go for higher end arena, you're probably going to want to put her in some Stone Skin, or you could certainly deal with a bunch of resilience gear instead if you want to put her in like 6-piece merciless and 3-piece resilience. The reaction, I should say, reaction rings. The reaction is going to give you a 25% chance to ignore a critical hit, so that can sometimes keep her alive as well. Swift Parry could be another interesting option as well, particularly because that's going to give her a buff, which could be kind of fun as well. So looking for damage building gear, and as far as the accessories and set you're looking for attack rings with attack percentages. You're looking for a crit damage amulet. You're looking for ideally probably an attack banner as well. As you can see, I probably could ascend this with attack if I wanted to. I didn't want to use a lot of my rerolls. I don't have a lot of them, and accuracy has occasionally some use on her, so that's not too bad. You're probably going to want to go speed or attack percent on the boots. We kind of compromised here with some speed with some attack percent ascensions. If you have high attack percentage with some good speed on them, they could be very good for you as well. But these Stone Skin boots are absolutely amazing. Most of this gear I stole from my Georgid, not entirely, but most of this gear I stole from my Georgid, and Georgid's got some really, really good gear. Again, attack percentage with attack percentage ascension here, crit damage ascension on the gloves if you can with crit damage. If you can't get crit damage gloves going, crit rate gloves will let you get a lot of other substats going, but you're going to want to make sure that you're hitting a bunch of extra crit damage on the accessories, or you're going to want to make sure she goes even faster than normal. You're going to want speed, you're going to want to attack, you're going to want crit rate and crit damage are really kind of the 4 stats you're looking for. Anything else is gravy, but it doesn't hurt, because if you can make her a little bit tankier, it's not too bad. And if you can make her just a little bit accurate, that's not too bad as well. And again, attack, and attack for the ascensions up on the top as well. So we are maxing out this champion as much as possible, other than maybe I could do slightly better here on this particular banner. Looking at the total stats right here, we have got, 7,300 attack, we've got 2,700 defense, and 41,000 HP. So little squishy, some okay defense. Again, that's all mostly incidental, so that's fine. 244 speed, that is very nice. If you're going to go with a relic that's not going to give you the crit damage, especially with a wand, that'll get you a little more speed. And speed is very important, again, for these single target damage dealers, because they need to take multiple turns. And while she can take extra turns, which can help quite a bit, at some point in time, you have to assume that she's not going to get an extra turn, and she's going to need to go again. So having her super fast is going to be very, very helpful. I'd love to get her about 30 speed faster, honestly. I just couldn't quite do it with this gear in Stone Skin. Crit damage, got a ton of crit damage here, and the 100% crit rate. Do get the 100% crit rate. Don't cheap out. 99% crit rate means you're accepting a 1% failure rate when you need to kill somebody that's the most important time, and that's bad. Resistance and accuracy, again, mostly incidental. Doesn't hurt to have some accuracy on her, but she doesn't really need it because she can ignore a lot of stuff. The accuracy will help make sure that anything that does not automatically be unresistible can't be resisted because you have enough accuracy. This is at least enough accuracy to maybe passively land a few things on some champions in arena, and that's fine. So we're going to run here with Arbiter just to see how the damage goes. That's going to give us a turn meter booster and increase attack as well. That's going to be very, very helpful for her. I could set up a team that's going to have an even number of buffs to 3. But if I do that, I don't think it's going to really help too much, because that's just going to let me get an extra turn on one of the abilities and not really showcase any additional damage. So we're going to go for a pure damage test here. We will certainly be avoiding any spirit-based champions as well on this. So we are going to target whoever we can. And ideally, if I can target a magic champion, we'll be doing the magic champion, and then I will bring Rotos in, and I can show you my Rotos build quickly, and we can do a little bit of damage comparison tests for the Rotos. Perfect. So we've got the miscreated monster right here, ready to go. So first of all, let's find out how she's going to do on her. Let's start with her A1, because I could get an extra turn, and then I don't have to reset. So A1 had the damage reduced, but she is built to nuke, and she's got increased attack. So this should hit fairly hard. And yeah, you can see the damage does kind of scale up a little bit. The second hit, I don't think we got the extra damage increase from Helm Smasher. So we didn't get the Helm Smasher proc, and that didn't do as much damage. It's okay. A1, not particularly exciting. Now, that did get nerfed slightly, but she has the extra turns on that, and this was never the big damage thing, was that A1 as well. It was still not too horrible as well. So let's reset this. In fact, let's just do a turn meter boost here quickly and see if she gets the next turn. She does as well. So let's take a look here at the A3, and that was a much bigger hit. So 159, that's kind of huge. And if that procced, that's pretty good. But a one shot, one kill from a, from a miscreated monster, not too bad. So let's reset this and try her A2. All right, first of all, I want to redo her A3 when it's not an additional attack. So we're going to start from the very first attack here to see how this goes from here. And 128,000. So yeah, so those extra hits that she's doing on that A1 is stacking up at extra damage, and that is definitely noticeable about how much extra damage she does. So be aware of that. That single first hit, not doing a ton of damage, but still decent damage. It can hit a lot harder if we can scale that back up on that A3. So to do this fair, we've reset one more time, get that increase attack going, and then we are going to do her A2 here, which is going to ignore 33% of the target's defense. This one should be the big nuke. Be nice to hit outside of under Stone Skin as well, but this is not going to be on a turn divisible by 3, which is absolutely fine. And yeah, about the same damage we got in the other one as well. So decent damage, not great, not the damage I was really kind of hoping for from her. Maybe my build is not as good as it could be. We do have, over 300% crit damage on her though, and a good amount of attack. But yeah, really that extra turns and some of the other shenanigans that she does is going to make her a little more viable. So let's try setting her up with all 6 and getting some of those extra turns and seeing how much more damage she can do on some of those extra turns. All right, so we've got the increased attack here going on. We've got the increased speed and the block debuffs and the increased defense right here. We're going to get an extra shield as well off of the Freya we've got right here. So I've got 6 buffs. To be fair, I have my Psiphi in protection and I have my Freya in protection as well. So she's going to get some extra damage from that. So do keep that in mind. But we've got the extra buffs here as well. So let's attack with this A3, which we should get that extra turn. And actually, she did less damage with that than I expected. So, but she did get that extra turn. So now we can go here with this one as well. There we go. That stacked up a little more and did 220 damage. So I suspect we did not get the ignore defense proc there. But yeah, doing some good damage. And then she's got 3 buffs on her as well. And yeah, you can certainly cycle with that extra turn and have some, shenanigans with her in, arena and in other areas as well. So with that said, am I super impressed with the damage? Not really. It could be better, but I also, have her built fairly fast. We could certainly stack more attack on her to do even more damage, but that is going to be plenty of damage to one-shot a lot of champions in arena. And so let's see how that goes in arena. But let's go bring in Rotos quickly just to do a quick comparison of what Rotos does as far as damage is concerned. So before we move into Rotos, just to show my Rotos off here, as you can see, Rotos has got not great base stats, actually. He's got a 90 speed as a legendary, which is really kind of slow. His max HP is low. His attack is reasonably high, but not like top tier high. And again, I've got him in some really good gear here. So we got the 6,200 HP as well as 6,500 attack. So he has technically less attack than Maria does, but Maria is a pure attack-based damage dealer, whereas Rotos is going to rely on that HP. We've got him at the 263 speed, 100% crit damage here, the 300%. He does have a bigger blessing, but I've got, again, with him, I like Ward of the Fallen because that reduces the damage he takes. So that's going to give him some extra damage versus Maria here. And honestly, the big reason he probably doesn't have as much crit damage as possible is because I got him in a very fast build. And honestly, this instinct gear, not as good as it could be. So that's a little bit of a problem for him. In fact, I also needed to give him some extra crit rates to be able to make this set work in the first place. So with that crit rate ascension, if I could get that to be crit damage and build him just a little bit better, I could probably get better crit damage, maybe some better speed as well. But overall, that is my Rotos. He's also a +1, which probably is going to skew the damage here a little bit. So this was a difficult build for me to do. In fact, I don't think I've really redone it anytime recently. Honestly, I probably should, because I probably should see if I can get him a little more speed. But again, we've got the HP and the HP here as well to give him as much HP as possible to make him super tanky. And but increased attack is going to help him as well. So let's start off this and see how much damage he is going to do with his different abilities. So we're going to start off with the A3 here. We're going to go against the same miscreated monster. And, you know, just a little bit more damage than Sanguine Maria. You know, not much more, but just a little bit more. So they're in a similar ballpark. Now we can just go with the A2 again. He still has increased attack up as well. The A2 is all about powering up his HP. So we go here on the A2, hits for 107. So Maria's A2 or A3 has done more damage than Rotos' A2. So Maria off the bat possibly can do a little more damage than Rotos. Rotos is just going to continue to scale up just a little bit better with that damage, because every time he gets that extra max HP hit, he is stealing it, and that's adding to his damage until he continues to do a lot more damage with more and more HP and just becomes an absolute beast. And so finally, just to complete the testing with Rotos, we're going to go with his A1 here and see what we can do with Frank. And yeah, 36,000 damage. He actually managed to land that decreased defense. I don't have a lot of accuracy on him. That's kind of impressive. But yeah, so Sanguine Maria and his A1, very similar as far as the amount of damage they're doing as well. In fact, I think hers did more damage on the A1 than his did, and he's got a lower chance of having an extra turn than she does as well. So on the A1 perspective, Sanguine Maria definitely gets the win there. All right. So we are going to go with this team here and, see what we can do against this team here. We are going for all the speed to keep Sanguine Maria going and cycling around. And that's the thing. I think she needs to be on a speed team that's going to help keep her going. And the advantage of having a Lammasu here is Lammasu can activate her and reset her, basically a budget Shuzen level ability, but that reset could be very helpful as well, because we might be able to get the Ignore Stone Skin a couple of times depending on what turn it happens to be for her, and keep on activating her as well. So with this, let's go see what we can do. We're going to turn this off, but we're going to have some revives. So if she dies, we might have some of the revive stuff playing out here as well. So I am definitely faster. We get the turn meter increase here as well. Look at this. We actually have 6 buffs on her right now as is, which is absolutely amazing. We're going to see if we can just fear and lock out a couple of people as well. So with the extra buffs, we can then do this ability here. We will get an extra turn automatically. So let's go see if we can just one-shot. There we go. We just deleted an Armand's, kind of a tanky champion as well. So that is worth noting that we can delete him as well. We're going to go with the triple hitter here and see if we can delete this Rotos right here with a triple hitter. Look at that. We deleted that. He got his extra turn because he lost enough HP, but she did not get an extra turn, but that's fine. So now we can just go here. Let's go sleep you. Let's go activate you. Get an extra turn down there. And now she should be able to delete Mariska right here because she is on turn 3, so she should be ignoring Stone Skin. Wow, 343 damage. Again, arena focused champion. So the damage dealing we were not doing particularly well in the in the what's it called? Stage 1 of Doom Tower. Well, this is pretty impressive. And this goes to show you, you probably could build her faster with a little less damage, and it would be very good. So maybe we don't actually need the Talon that she's got as well. So maybe we could go with like the aspect of Siroth to kind of help protect her, or something else that gets her some extra health if she goes below HP or something like that. So here, the champion I need to worry about is I need to make sure Armand's gets paused. So the Rotos got a turn. That is fine. Get the increase attack. That's going to be good. We can get some decrease attack here as well. Killed the monkey with my Lamassu. Not too bad. Sleep the Armands again. And here, what we're going to do is let's hope we can get 1, 2. To be fair, I could have done this, but that's how you kill a Rotos. And boom. Look at that. We wiped the floor with the Mariska team and an Armand's team. Now, to be fair, I brought some powerful champions that are really built for speed here, and this might not be the biggest and best person to attack, but that was pretty dominant by Maria, doing a ton of damage here. I mean, look at this. Obviously, you saw she was doing bigger numbers than what this shows here. This only shows how much damage she actually did, but we were able to leverage her extra turns. We were able to leverage the ignore stone skins. We were able to leverage the extra damage as well. And yeah, we just absolutely massacred this team. Are they a great team? Maybe not. My team power is certainly much higher than theirs. Let's go see if I can find another team in Arena to use Maria for and delete some stuff. Now here's an interesting team with some interesting options. Let's give this a try. UDK is going to hurt her significantly because she only does do the one single attack other than the A1. But because the A1 is a multi-hitter, you can actually use that to hit around a UDK. So this will be an interesting experience as well. Let's see what we can do. Start this puppy up. And yeah, again, we're trying to deal with Rotos. So hopefully we can actually down a Rotos. That would be very helpful. Get the extra buffs as well. So we are at 5 buffs, 6 buffs already right now. So we have the 6 buffs we need. We can get the, so that Siffy is in high resist, but we prevented the stuff from happening there. So I could try to hit through UDK, but I think what I'm going to do is we're going to see if we can take down this Rotos with a triple hitter. Not quite. It looks like he has some reaction gear on, so he did not take the thing, but we got the extra turn. So I can just do it again. Boom, down goes Rotos. Got an extra turn. Let's do this again, this time with Armands, who I think I might be able to. No, maybe not. Another turn. This is absolutely ridiculous. I probably should have tried to kill UDK with that other turn, but we're going to keep on going turns and taking turns until she tells me I don't need to take another turn. In fact, that's not going to give me an extra turn now because I burned through all my buffs. So let's go down here, and can we get another turn? No, we did not get another turn. That is absolutely amazing, though. And look at that. We hit ourselves around UDK and just pretty much ignored him. And she is set up to ignore Stone Skin next time she gets a turn, which is great. So let's get back to her. And okay, so Lamassu will activate her. That'll give her a second buff. Unfortunately, I cannot get an extra ally attack. Let's just see if we can wipe off some of these buffs. Every once in a while, you get lucky with it. Not in this particular case. Okay, so she can ignore Stone Skin on this buff. She does not have increased attack. Let's see if she can take down a UDK, though, because she has gotten a large number of hits, so I don't know what the damage bonus on this is, but we are going to ignore 95% of the defense, or 99%, plus everything else. So we're going to ignore 100% defense, and boom, absolutely deleted a UDK, and I don't even know what turn she was on as far as the multiples for the hit. She got 5, so that's 15, so that should have been the 16th one, so that should have been a plus 99% damage. Totally made sense. But yeah, and if I thought about that earlier, I could have deleted UDK and it would have been much, much better. Look at this. We've got 3 buffs on her as well. Sleep you. Now I can delete Siffy with that particular ability. And since Armand's was below 66%, we got an AoE killing Armand's as well. So look at that. She is definitely a manual champion for Arena. but she can absolutely delete people in arena. She's doing damage on par with Rotos, and you build her in Stone Skin, she'll be tanky enough to survive to her first turn. And once she gets to that first turn, hopefully she's got some of her other abilities to keep her alive. If there's other revivers on the enemy team, she can revive herself, which could be really cool. That is really kind of hard for me to showcase, but it's certainly an option. She looks like she's a fun champion if you can win the speed race. And if not, you're going to make sure that she gets a turn if you're going to use her with Ghost Second champions that are going to help her keep her alive with Stone Skin and maybe put block damage on her, like a Knave, for example. You certainly could use a Necrit for her, would actually be a good option because Necrit will give her a bunch of extra buffs as well. So if you work it out correctly, you can get her with 6 buffs, get her going. And again, that's actually part of why I think Lightning Cage is good for her, because that Lightning Cage buff that she's going to put on herself is an extra buff that could give you that 3rd or 6th buff pretty regularly. So, hey, Sanguine Maria, pretty awesome. So that is a Sanguine Maria. That would be how I would build her. That would be how I would use her. And again, in arena, that's absolutely amazing damage. The other places she could be useful for you, well, she's going to do some pretty good damage in PvE still. She doesn't ramp up as much as Rotos does, but she does ramp up a little bit, and she gets a ton of extra turns other than against the boss. But you can use those extra turns to help you with wave clear. If you've got other new damage dealers that are going to help take people down, her A3 can be an absolute nuke in an AoE situation. So there's some fun stuff you can do with her that you're actually not going to do with Rotos as well. So they are very unique, very different champions. And honestly, I think it's kind of fun to take a look at both of them and see where they can compare and how you might use them. Yeah, she still pairs well with Siphi, not quite as well as Rotos does, but Siphi's triple buff, very, very good for her as well. Put her on the right team, especially a buff-heavy team that's going to get you those 3 or 6 buffs, and you're going to find that she is going to dominate arena for you as a single target damage dealer, which is great because the meta generally is not for single target damage dealers. And because she has that triple hitter A1, you can do some fun stuff even to get around UDK, as you saw in this video. So hopefully you're enjoying using your Sanguine Maria. Let me know down below what you thought of this showcase, whether or not this taught you anything about good ways to use her. And, you know, if you'd like to see any more video or content with her, let me know down below as well. Hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. I really do appreciate it. You guys are absolutely amazing. Much love, and until the next video, I am Bront CatHerder.